of us would put me in the fourth quarter with the game on the line because breaking ankles, dropping dimes, knocking down fadeaways aren't exactly my strong suit. Now I know myself fairly well, and I can confidently say that my competitive basketball career came to a close in 8th grade. I realized that my talents weren't in basketball when I was cut from the freshman team. Instead, they were in acting, talking in front of people. That's why I decided to participate in drama, because that's where I could use my abilities to do the most good. We must learn about ourselves and know what we are good at, and perhaps what we are not so good at. We mustn't strive to do something because someone else is good at it, something because our parents tell us to do it, or they said so, or because it will help us get a good job. We must do what we love and what we are good at. At first, I was a tad bit embarrassed about liking doing plays, because I thought that this being an all-guys school, people wouldn't think I'm tough or cool. And also, I thought maybe plays were a little geeky and something not to be proud of. I used to be so insecure about my involvement in drama that freshman year, until they shaved my head so that I could convincingly play a Marine, most of my classmates didn't even know I was in the play. Now that I'm a senior, I think that's pretty ridiculous that I was embarrassed, because I'm happy when I'm in the black box. And honestly, that's all that matters. I discovered my talent freshman year, when I was the only freshman actor in the play. And for the parents, I thought I was the bee's knees, the cat's pajamas, all that in a bag of chips. So in my sophomore year, I barely did anything to prepare for my audition. I blew it off. I felt like I was in and that I didn't have to work for it. So I auditioned with something that I'd learned the night before and did a really average job, and I was rightly not called back, left out of the play that year. I thought, how could they have done this to me? I was the one who was going to be in all the plays. I was the one who stood out. I was the one. And I was so upset that I stewed over this for a while. But now when I look back on it, there was no reason for them to pick me. I didn't do anything special. I just did the bare requirement. I really wanted to be in the play, and I cared about making it, but I didn't show it. I didn't do anything wrong, but at the same time, I didn't do anything right. I didn't make it so that I needed to be in that play, and that they couldn't put it on without me. And as a result, my sophomore year was filled with a lot of regret. And during my junior year, I realized that if I was left out of this next show, I wasn't sure what I would do. Perhaps I wasn't as good as an actor as I thought. Maybe I was a fluke. I wouldn't let that be, not without at least one more try. And I believed that if I actually worked and I tried, I could be in the place. And I was going to do the right thing and use my talents to the best of my abilities. And I worked for hours on this monologue, practiced each line countless times, put as much emotion into it as I possibly could. I needed to prove not to them, but to myself that I could do it, that I needed to be in that play. And I found a first-hand account of this firefighter who had lost his best friend, and I fought back tears as I performed it, thinking about what it would be like if I had gone through what he had. And as a result, I got into that play, and I continued to utilize and grow in my talents. But more than that, I did something. I didn't just let my talents go to waste by being lazy and cocky. I utilized them. And as a result of being in that play, my talent grew and has allowed me to be in both of my plays this senior year. And by doing what I love, I've had one of the best years of my life. As I look around, I see the schools covered in championship banners, academics awards, great pieces of art, and that tells me that we have a lot of talent. However, I think our championships and awards and artwork say more about us than we can run fast, build things, and express ourselves. I mean, at least for me, I don't act because I love the attention or because it's fun to dress up in costumes, though a purple tuxedo is pretty fun to wear. I act because it's the best way that I can do something good. I did the documentary plays because I want to tell the stories of people who were overlooked and in dire need of attention, so that they can get help. I did the musicals so people could be entertained and laugh and forget about their troubles. And as a result of acting, I realized that my talents are that I really care a lot about the happiness of other people. I'm quick to love others, and finally, I sympathize really easily. For instance, I'm a sympathetic crier, so if you start crying around me, you can expect my company pretty soon. And when I look up at those banners up there on the wall, I don't just see a rugby team that had men like Cameron or AJ or George that ran faster, tackled harder, or played tougher than anyone else. I also see that we had a team of men who had determination, humbled themselves, didn't quit in the face of adversity, gave everything that they had. And when I see the robotics team and Joe Griffin getting interviewed on News 10 or Chris and Greg at the Capitol, I don't just see guys who put metal together in fun ways. I see men who look at the world in a different way, who find pattern where people didn't before, who push themselves and were satisfied with the bare minimum. And when I see Roland using his vacation to help out in Africa, or men coming back from retreats, especially ones I grew closest to with the K-107 and K-110, looking at you. I see men who care deeply about others, men willing to sacrifice themselves for others' happiness, men who give from the depths of who they are, and men who love. These are the talents that I'm talking about that matter. These are the talents that we have been blessed to have been given by God. And these are the talents that are going to make a difference. God gave us gifts of time on this planet, talents, and the means to develop those talents. So what should we do? At Jesuit, we're taught a lot about thinking reasonably, using logic to work out an outcome problem, or deducing a conclusion as a result of an experiment. And all of that's fine and dandy for science, but what I've learned as a result of what I've seen, heard, and felt is that thinking and using our talents in reasonable ways is the wrong way to go. When I think about it, our entire existence to me seems completely unreasonable. Why we evolved from the tiniest of organisms to this complex and wondrous being that we are now, to live on this rock that's hurtling around a ball of gas that is something part of something so incredibly large that we are merely a speck on a speck on a speck of a specking speck, is absolutely, entirely, and insanely unreasonable to me. Why are we here? I'm not sure I know, and I'm not sure I can answer it, but I think I can answer how we should live while we are here. That play I made junior year was called Tower Stories, and it's about the way that people acted in love towards complete strangers in the days following 9/11. Firefighters who rushed into the buildings that were doomed to come crashing down, volunteers taking time off work to aid the suffering, taxi drivers giving free rides, people trapped inside the building calling out for one another and working together to make it to safety. They didn't do these things for any reason at all, other than the fact that they felt a deep connection and love to their fellow person. It didn't make sense to me. In fact, it was rather unreasonable why people would care for and risk their lives for people they didn't even know. That in the worst conditions, the very best qualities would be brought out of us. It's unreasonable for us to love someone so much that we would sacrifice ourselves for them. But then again, if love is unreasonable and our existence is unreasonable, then the only way that we can live our lives is unreasonably. We must do the most unreasonable thing of all and give of ourselves without asking anything in return. We must love. Everything that we have has been given to us by God, and since we have been given so much, it's of dire importance that we use our talents to give to those who need. We need to give ourselves to fill in the empty places in our world. We must act. We can't sit around and do nothing. Too often, we think that the only way we can do wrong is that if we know the right thing, but we do the wrong thing anyway. If we do nothing, it's fine because we haven't done anything wrong. We may see a kid getting picked on a Grace Court and just walk by thinking, well, I'm not the one doing the hazing. It's not a big deal. I don't have to do anything. Or we see a homeless man on the side of the road and think, well, I didn't put him into this predicament. I don't have to do anything. And we walk on by. Or we may see something on the news, some war in Uganda, child labor in China, and we think, once again, that's not my problem. There's nothing I can do. That state of mind is the problem. We can no longer afford to stand by and watch as the problems with our world continue. The world begins to change for the better when we stop doing nothing and start doing something. We start the end of injustice in our world when we come to the aid of someone who's being picked on. We start the end to global hunger when we give spare change to those folks who waited divider at Watt and the Pharaoh's life. We start to build a brotherhood of humanity when we go to New Orleans to build houses, go on the plunge, or care for a person with special needs at Camp Recreation. We might not be able to solve the world's problems right now, but we can start. Soon the little things that we will do might inspire others to action, and hopefully along it will go. And the world's biggest problems become just a collection of little ones that we can tackle and use our talents to solve. Now the world has plenty of people who act reasonably, who can justify their inaction. It doesn't need anyone else to sit by the wayside, play it safe, do nothing. What the world needs are men. Men who won't just sit by when they see what needs to be done. The type of men who rush into burning buildings for complete strangers. The type of men who won't be indifferent when the world demands that they be compassionate and act. The type of men who will do the right thing even when everyone else is standing around. When nobody else cares, the world needs men who love. We must use what we have been given and give back. We have all been put here for a certain reason, blessed with talents that can help those who need it most. And we must seek out the places of lacking in our world and give ourselves to fill that void. Lesser men see that lacking, they turn away, saying they don't need to do anything, and they waste their talents. Well, we are not lesser men. The term men for others is something far more than a school motto or a slogan or something to put on our t-shirts. It's a calling of our lives, a calling not to waste what we have been given, but instead to discover our talents, nurture them, and finally use them to love. We must find out what we love to do, something that challenges us and causes us to grow, something that not only brings us joy, but joy to those who experience it, something that utilizes what we have been given, and then we must do what we can. Do what we can to go to places of darkness and bring light, to go to places of sadness and bring joy, to go to places of hatred or indifference and bring love. We must find what we love to do and follow it. We must love our fellow brothers and sisters. And we must love the life that we have been given, because love is why we are here.